As always, for the start of this process, we start off carving the bowl of the love spoon. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to point out a few things to think about before actually starting your wood carving project. Now, those two points then we want to raise starting off. The type of wood that you choose can have a huge impact on whether you're ultimately successful or not in what you're trying to carve. This one here that we got is a nice piece of mahogany, and it's worth using all sorts of different timbers. The one a lot of people start off with and is widely suggested is basswood, or what we refer to in the UK as flowering lime. Linden is also called at different places as well. So yeah, that is a good timber to start off with. So that's the first point then, is to select a timber or a piece of wood that is suitable for wood carving. The next point then is, and especially for those who are more specifically interested in spoon carving, is to use the wood in the correct way. Now, with lime, with flowering lime, basswood, linden, whatever you call it, it's not as critical because you can carve the grain in sort of different directions. But generally speaking, when it comes to a piece of wood, you have a grain running in a certain direction, and you want to be working with the grain as much as possible. So, as you see me carving this, what we always do, we have a look at the wood, and ideally for a love spoon, for a spoon, you would have your grain running in a vertical direction. So there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, it's stronger. So where we have a little bit more of a delicate stem, you've got that extra strength in the wood where it will not split as easily, and especially if it has pressure there. If it's horizontal grain, it'll snap. So that's not good for us. Rather frustrating. The other thing then is that it's better in terms of the carving, because you are carving in the direction of the grain more frequently. So that is preferable. So yeah, those are the two sort of points to think of then when it comes to marking out your project and selecting what you're going to actually use. Find an appropriate piece of timber and try to mark it out where the grain is running in the direction you're going to be carving in the most. So for a spoon, it's with a vertical grain. Now then, let's go on then to the simple techniques. So what we got in this design, we've got the Celtic eternity sign, a symbol that we carve quite often. We've got two hearts and a twist on the stem. So one of the first things then that I would do with this is to mark out what are sort of technically referred to as stop cuts. So that's where we cut down into the wood, just like so. So we mark our stop cuts, just like so. And what that has actually done then, that stop cut, it acts like a barrier. So we then cut into the barrier, just like so, and pull the gouge back. Quite often when I'm doing live demonstrations for people, they sort of think that I go in and then wedge up. I don't actually do it. It's basically the speed that we do it. It makes it look as if you're doing that, but you're not. So there we go. We got your barrier, you cut in, and then you pull back. And because we're working with the grain, we get a nice clean cut. Another thing then, when it comes to tools, when starting out, it's not necessary to have lots and lots of tools. We've done more videos on our YouTube channel dedicated to tools. But when you're starting out, don't worry about having lots and lots of tools at your disposal. Concentrate more on learning about the wood, learning about the grain and how you actually interact with the wood. Focus on those things more so than sort of worrying about having tools and equipment. One thing I always advise is to secure whatever you're carving, secure it in a vise, because that allows you to get two hands onto the tool that you're working with. So your one hand is pushing, so my back hand I'm pushing with, and my front hand, that is the one that's actually in control. So that does the sort of the guiding work. And as you can see then, we're working with that grain, and we're constantly sort of shaping. That's what we're doing. We do those stop cuts, as we mentioned, down into the wood to create a barrier. We shape around the outside. Now afterwards, what I will actually do, where I'm carving and rounding the edges here, I'll actually use some sandpaper or glass paper to shape that more. There's no rules or regs. Don't give yourself restrictions that you don't need. If you don't want to do that, if you want to leave it off the gouge, off the chisel, that's no problem at all. Now when it comes to then carving the eternity sign, again, you start off with your stop cuts. You decide which way you're going to go with the design. So what I'm going to do, that is going to be going under. This piece is going to be going over. But it will then go, it'll go under here, and this piece again will be under over. So the nice thing with this symbol is that it is a continuous symbol. But again, it's the same basic principle. You start off by doing your stop cuts. So you create your barrier to work from. And then afterwards, we use those barriers to give us depth and detail to our carving. So you can see we're just going to carve into there just to shape that. Shape that. And the basic principle of wood carving, if you compare it to something like painting, well, painting, you sort of build up layers of paint. You add paint to your canvas or whatever you're painting. So you keep adding, keep adding, keep adding. Wood carving is the complete reverse, where you keep taking away, taking away, taking away. You take away the waste wood that you don't want in your carving until you've got the desired shape. So already we can start to see our design coming through. And all you are doing, as much as you can, there we're having to go a little bit across the grain, but that's sort of unavoidable. We have to do that for this design. But we just cut into that barrier, pull back all the time. So you cut in, pull back. If you need, if you have a little splinter that stays, just carve deeper into it and cut that splinter away. Same again over this side. And what we're creating here, as I said, this is the Celtic eternity sign. And what we're creating is an effect where the eternity sign, it's going under, over, under, over. So we're creating that effect where it's going under and over itself. But once it's finished, it will be continual and it'll look as if it's going under and over. Now I know a lot starting out as well, you will make little mistakes, that little things will go wrong. The process of learning wood carving is very much learning how to cover your mistakes and use any mistakes. ultimately, that is wood carving then in a nutshell. There isn't anything hugely complicated about it. When we have people in doing wood carving, one thing that we always emphasize to them is that it's our view that anybody can learn wood carving. Anybody can sort of become a wood carver. So it's a process when you first start wood carving. The main thing is building your confidence. And that's what it's all about then, is to develop that confidence, to build up more and more time spent with the material, with the tools, with the carving. And the other part to it that ultimately, in my view then, would dictate whether you're going to be able to continue with wood carving and keep learning and keep developing your skills, because ultimately we're all learning every day when we're carving. The difference between succeeding and not succeeding is enjoying it and having the will to do it. If you enjoy the process, if you enjoy wood carving, your skills will keep developing, and you will keep learning, you'll keep progressing. If you have that will to do it, you'll succeed. There isn't anything hugely complicated in what you do when it comes to wood carving. It's a nice process, it's a nice material, and it's very much there for anyone and everyone to enjoy. So as we go through this spoon, it's still the same sort of processes. We're doing our stop cuts, where we're cutting down into the woods, and then afterwards we use that stop cut as a barrier and cut into it. And that's what we just keep repeating, that process. And whatever shape then that we're doing, that is what you're doing. Take away the wood that you don't want and keep shaping whatever you're making. So there you go. That is our Celtic-inspired Eternal Bliss love spoon. Hopefully it's useful, seeing how we've hand carved that one. popular design that we do, and a lovely piece of wood and a lovely design for us to make. Hopefully that video is useful. Remember, if you've got any comments, if you've got any thoughts, any different ideas and designs that you are interested in, remember, put it in the comments section below. If you're learning wood carving, let us know how you're getting on. Let us know as well if there are any things that you would like us to focus on that may help you to develop your wood carving skills. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll be back again soon with more videos. Remember, don't forget to
subscribe
and